Editing vertical video on your phone is great when you're out and about because it is super fast and convenient. But let's be real, getting frame-accurate cuts and perfect positioning with your thumbs is a total pain. That's why I still prefer to move to a desktop setup for any serious vertical edits. For me, that often means using professional software for the level of control I need. But if that software feels like a monster you don't want to wrestle, stick around. I'm going to show you a workflow that mixes the precision of a desktop editor with the speed and automation you actually need. I'll show you how to do the heavy lifting so you don't spend hours manually chopping clips. Right now, I'm in a vertical editing workspace, which is basically reconfigured so the program monitor sits on the right. Everything feels much more comfortable when you're working on 9:16 footage. If you're creating a timeline from scratch, you go to your new item settings and pick a social preset. Choose the portrait vertical option, which is typically 1080 by 1920 for standard HD. You can even go with 4K if you want that extra resolution for cropping later. I personally like to edit at 1080 by 1920 even if some clips were shot in 4K. This gives me plenty of scaling room without forcing my sequence into massive file sizes. Frame rate matters too, and 30 frames per second is a safe go-to for most social platforms. But you can switch to 24 or 60 frames per second, whatever matches your source footage best. Once you name your sequence and open it, you can start dropping your clips in. Here's a quick tip. If your software warns you that clip resolution doesn't match your sequence, don't let it auto-change. Keep your sequence settings and resize manually inside the Properties panel. There's a fit versus fill nuance that people often miss during the editing process. Fit will letterbox or scale down, while fill can crop or zoom to fill the frame completely. If you shot vertical but your camera exported landscape, you might just need to rotate 90 degrees. That's the easy fix. Just rotate it, then scale to taste. Basic cuts are simple but worth walking through for the best flow. You use your razor tool to cut where you want, then go back to the selection tool to delete the gap. For a quick outfit change or a jump cut, that is really all you need to do. But once you want to do things like split screens, you have to start fiddling with cropping and alignment. My workflow is to stack clips on top of each other and turn on the rulers and guides. I drag a 50% guide, then crop the top layer exactly to that guide. Nudging the lower clip into position gives much more consistent results than just eyeballing it. Now, effects like rotoscoping are where people get really intimidated. Yes, advanced software does a great job with the automatic brush tool, but it is a multi-step process. You have to duplicate your clip, move it to another composition, paint your subject, and refine the selection. It's powerful, but it eats up your time and requires specific knowledge of motion graphics. The same goes with slick animated captions that really pop. There are plugins for karaoke-style captions with color fills, but they can be pricey if you're a one-person creator. Built-in transcript tools are actually pretty good for static subtitles. You auto-transcribe, tweak the text, and set a character limit so they don't collide with the UI. Transitions are another thing, and while the basics like dissolves are easy, cinematic ones are harder. If you want cinematic presets with sound design baked in, you can buy toolkits, but that's more software to manage. So, where does a tool like Vizard fit into all of this? Look, I love my pro software when I need absolute control, but for creators publishing short content, time is the bottleneck. That is exactly the problem that Vizard solves. Instead of manually combing through a long vlog to find the 5 moments that will crush it, Vizard does the heavy lifting. It analyzes your long video and finds the most engaging segments where your energy spikes. It then spits out ready-to-post clips that are formatted specifically for vertical platforms. These are not random trims because the AI picks where engagement is likely to be high. You still get to review and tweak, but your starting point is 80% of the work done. And scheduling is honestly the worst part of content creation. You can batch export everything or pay extra for third-party schedulers and cross-posters. Vizard's auto-schedule means you tell it how often you want content out, and it handles the rest. It posts at times based on performance signals and best practice windows. You set the frequency and the target platforms, and it queues and posts on your behalf. The content calendar is also a total lifesaver for keeping track of everything. You get a single place to see what's scheduled, edit captions, and make changes without hopping between tools. Vizard compresses a lot of friction into one single interface. Let me be honest, tools like data-driven studios are cool for brainstorming thumbnails and hooks, but those are specialized and don't do the actual video clipping and scheduling automation. Vizard isn't trying to replace your creative studio. It complements it perfectly. If you're a pro editor, by all means, keep using your professional suite for absolute control. But for most creators who need volume and consistency, Vizard is faster and cheaper when you factor in time saved. Instead of paying high subscriptions for every plugin, Vizard gives you automation where you need it most. Let's say you do want to keep some pro editing moves in the mix. Use your preset, make clean cuts, and then export a master file to feed into Vizard. Vizard will rescan and create short-form edits from that master file automatically. If you're juggling hundreds of clips per month, manually applying styles gets old fast. Vizard offers auto-captioning that's accurate and allows you to style them in bulk. You can save a brand template so every clip gets consistent subtitles without retyping. Vizard removes the middleman by letting you publish directly to the platform of your choice. One thing people underestimate is analytics feedback. Vizard surfaces which clips are getting traction and suggests cadence tweaks. That is gold because it closes the loop and helps you replicate what works. To sum up, use pro software when you need surgical control and visual polish. But if you want to scale and turn one video into a content machine, Vizard is the glue. Auto-edit, auto-schedule, and manage everything in the content calendar. Stay creative instead of getting bogged down in administrative tasks. Test a hybrid approach. Do the heavy visual work where it matters, then hand it to Vizard. You'll ship more content, learn faster from analytics, and free yourself to make the next great long-form piece. If you want a walkthrough of how the auto-editing feels in practice, I can show you a before and after. Hit me up in the comments or drop a link, and I'll show you what it turns into. Keep creating better stuff and make the tools work for you, not the other way around. See you in the next one.